U.S. battle tanks form the basis of the ground forces. These combat vehicles are always on guard of the country. Today, we will show the top 5 best tanks of the USA. Subscribe to the channel in advance so as not to miss the latest selections of America's top. 5th place, T-57. The T-57 prototype heavy tank was developed in the USA in the mid-50s and is a slightly modified T-43 tank. The body of the T-57 tank was borrowed almost unchanged from the M103. But here is the tower. A swinging tower was installed on the tank, a kind of tank tower, in which the gun is fixed in the upper half of the tower, swinging on trunnions relative to the pivoting lower half. Such a tower has a number of specific advantages and disadvantages over the towers of the traditional scheme. The main advantage of the swinging tower over the towers of the traditional scheme is the immobility of the upper part of the tower relative to the gun, which allows it to use the simplest possible loading mechanism. The tower consisted of 2 cast parts, hinged together. The lower one was based on a roller shoulder strap and provided horizontal guidance of weapons, as in traditional designs, but the upper part, which was actually a tower and contained weapons, workplaces for 3 crew members, and part of the ammunition was made swinging on a horizontal transverse axis to ensure vertical guidance. The automatic loader was located in the massive rear part of the turret and consisted of a feeding device and a drum for 8 unitary shots, located under the bolt of the gun. 3 types of ammunition could be loaded into a drum powered by a hydraulic dispenser, the choice of which was carried out by the gunner or the tank commander. Spent cartridges were ejected through a special hatch on the roof of the tower. To load, the projectile was first removed from the magazine back and up into the dispenser tray. Then the tray was brought into the loading position, coaxially with the barrel channel, and the projectile was sent into the breech. The magazine, the sender, and the gun swung together, so it was not necessary to bring the barrel to a certain position, and the loading process did not depend on the angle of vertical guidance. The gun was a 120mm rifled T1-3E1 cannon, but modified to use unitary shots. It was unusual to rigidly mount a gun of such a large caliber in the turret without any recoil devices. Therefore, a hydraulic drive was used to open the shutter, which automatically triggered after the shot. The role of the loader was to replenish the magazine from the stowage in the case, which contained an additional 10 shots, thus providing 18 pieces of ammunition. According to the American military, this was clearly not enough. A 7.62mm machine gun was paired with the gun on the left, and a telescopic sight was located on the right. 4th place, M60. The M60 main battle tank is the first tank of this type in the U.S. Army. Its development began in 1957 by Chrysler, as opposed to the Soviet T-5 for medium tank, and was a further development of the design of the M48 Patton III tank. The work was completed fairly quickly, already in March 1959. The M60 prototypes were called the XM60 Passy trials and received the name 105mm gun, full-tracked combat tank M60. Serial production of the M60 was carried out at the Detroit Tank Plant from 1960 to 1987. A total of 15,221 vehicles were manufactured during this time, although including both tanks themselves and engineering vehicles on the same chassis. In addition to the USA, the Italian company Otto Melara, which produced 200 M60A1 tanks, was engaged in the production of the main M60 tank from the beginning of the 1960s to the end of the 1970s. The M60 tank became the main combat vehicle of the U.S. Army, but it almost did not take part in hostilities on the part of the United States. For some reason, it was not sent to the Vietnam War, and by the beginning of Operation Desert Storm, the M60 was already quite outdated, and several dozen tanks of this type used against Iraq were used rather as auxiliary. The only really combat use of the M60 in the U.S. Army was the U.S. invasion of Grenada in 1983. But even here the M60 was used in very small quantities. Third place, HM8. In mid-1992, the U.S. Army, based on the results of international comparative tests, chose the Armored Cannon System AUS XM8 of the RMS Corporation to equip mobile forces, in particular the 82nd Airborne Division. This system, a light tank, is a further development of a light melee combat vehicle created in the early 1980s on an initiative basis. The first sample of such an armored vehicle was released in August 1985. He largely repeated the design of the BMPM-2 Bradley. In particular, the engine and transmission unit was placed in the right front of the hull, the driver to his left, and the turret was shifted to the stern. However, the second sample already had a different, more traditional layout for light tanks and a more powerful engine. The main changes in the XM8 compared to previous systems include the installation of a 105-2000 rifled cannon developed by the Waterflight Arsenal, and the abandonment of a separate commander's thermal imaging surveillance device in order to reduce the total cost of the tank over its life cycle. Existing well-developed assembly units are widely used in its design. For example, the engine that is installed in the heavy 8x8 M977 truck, the transmission and manual guidance drives of the commander and gunner from the Bradley BMP, the laser rangefinder and crosswind sensor from the M1A1 tank, the ballistic calculator from the Challenger MK2 tank. The tank uses a 6-cylinder diesel 6U9-TA with a capacity of 580 horsepower at 2,400 revolutions per minute. This engine contains 65% of the common components with the HU9-TA diesel engine, in significant quantities available in the American Army. The engine is connected to the NMRT500ZES hydromechanical transmission of the General Electric Company, used on armored vehicles of the Bradley family of the RMS Corporation. A characteristic feature of this transmission is the stepless regulation of not only turning radii, but also driving speeds. High specific power when installing an additional reservation of the third level. It is 25.8 horsepower LT. Developed transmission and control system provide high dynamic qualities from a standstill to a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. The car accelerates in 6 seconds. Second place, Stingray. The Stingray light tank was developed by Cadillac Gage Textron on an initiative basis in 1983. The first prototype of the Stingray light tank was completed in August 1984, but the U.S. Army preferred the M8 light tank. In 1986, two prototypes of the Stingray tank were tested in Thailand. A total of 106 Stingray light tanks were built, all of which were supplied to Thailand. Due to the weak reservation, the Stingray tank is used as a reconnaissance tank. The frontal armor of the tank withstands the hit of an armor-piercing bullet of 14.5 mm caliber and the side armor of 12.7 mm caliber. The layout of the Stingray light tank is made according to the classical scheme, with the front location of the control compartment, the rear location of the engine and transmission compartment MTO, and the middle location of the combat compartment. The crew of the tank has 4 people. The MTO has an 8-cylinder turbocharged, liquid-cooled diesel engine with a capacity of 535 horsepower, 393.5 kilowatts, and an Allison XTG 411-2A automatic transmission. The Stingray light tank has an individual torsion bar suspension with 6 twin support rollers, 3 supporting rollers, rear drive, and front guide wheels on each side. The first, second, and sixth suspension units are equipped with hydraulic shock absorbers. First place, M1 Abrams. The M1 Abrams tank is equipped with a protection system against weapons of mass destruction, which If necessary, supplies purified air from the filter ventilation unit to the masks of crew members, and also creates excessive pressure in the fighting compartment to prevent radioactive dust or toxic substances from entering it. There are radiation and chemical reconnaissance devices. The air temperature inside the tank can be increased with the help of a heater. For a circular view around the perimeter of the commander's turret, 6 viewing periscopes are installed. From the laser rangefinder, the values of the range to the target, the crosswind speed, the ambient temperature, and the angle of inclination of the axis of the gun are automatically entered. The engine and transmission compartment is located in the aft part of the machine. The AOT-1500 gas turbine engine is made in one unit with the X110OZV automatic hydromechanical transmission. If necessary, the entire unit can be replaced in less than 1 hour. The choice of a gas turbine engine is explained by a number of its advantages in comparison with a diesel engine of the same power. First of all, this is the possibility of obtaining more power with a smaller volume of a gas turbine engine. In addition, the latter has about half the weight, a relatively simple design, and 2 to 3 times the service life. In addition, it better meets the requirements of multi-fuel capacity. At the same time, its disadvantages, such as increased fuel consumption and the complexity of air purification, are noted. AOT-1500 is a 3-shaft engine with a 2-outlet axial flow compressor, an individual combustion chamber of tangential arrangement, a 2-stage power turbine with an adjustable nozzle apparatus of the first stage, and a stationary annular plate heat exchanger. The maximum gas temperature in the turbine is 1193 C. The speed of rotation of the output shaft is 3,000 revolutions per minute. The engine has a good pickup, which provides the M1 Abrams tank with acceleration to a speed of 30 kilometers per hour in 6 seconds. The automatic hydromechanical transmission X110OZV provides for forward and to reverse gears. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss the latest selections of America's top